Good morning. I want to talk with you about Jesus from a particular perspective this morning. I want to use the symbol of a plumb line in relationship to Jesus. However, let me depart for just a moment. In the beginning verses of chapter 5 of Matthew, and chapters 5, 6, and 7 contain what's called the Sermon on the Mount. In those opening verses, Matthew says that Jesus saw the crowd, and when he went over, he sat down and taught them. I don't know whether you have thought about that or not. Jesus sat when he was teaching. I think that puts Jesus on a particular level with those to whom he is speaking. I can't imagine Jesus looking off into the sky and talking to them. I can't imagine Jesus looking at the ground and talking to them. I can very much imagine Jesus. I can see him in my mind's eye talking to people, and as he talks to them, he looks at them with as much eye contact as he can possibly have, so that they know that he's talking directly to them. I hope when you read the parables and the teachings and the sermons of Jesus, that you might have that image in your mind. I want to talk with you about a plumb line. When we say, I'm going to drop you a line, we mean we're going to communicate with someone, send a message, a text, a letter, a writing of some sort. Let's assume for a moment that that's exactly what God had in mind when he sent Jesus. I want to communicate with you. I'm going to communicate with you, God says. Except that in this case, God does the communication with us in person. Jesus, the messenger, the speaker, the teller, the communicator. And so God drops us a line, if you will, in the person of Jesus Christ. I want to lift up the concept and symbol of a line in a very special way. The concept is that of a plumb line, a way of building that construction people use to define vertical alignment, so that when a wall is being built, for example, a true vertical from top to bottom is achieved. Everything is in alignment, perfect vertical alignment. Some years ago, I used this symbol in teaching a class about Jesus as the plumb line. A.J. Shorter, who was a member of the class, asked me to explain what I meant by Jesus as the plumb line. I want to share with you the letter that I wrote A.J., and I'm using his permission to share it. Dear A.J., I don't know that I have attempted to write down a detailed meaning of the plumb line, but since you ask, I think I shall have a try in describing the meaning. First, let me say that I do not know that I copied the idea from anyone, so there is no one with whom you can compare, as far as I know. But that's okay with me. First, the plumb line concept itself. A plumb line is a measuring and or aligning device. A brick mason uses a plumb line to lay up his wall of bricks so that they are in perfect perpendicular alignment, each one being aligned to the true perpendicular of the plumb line, which has, of course, a plumb bob on the bottom. If each one is aligned to the same line, then all of the bricks and the wall would be exactly and precisely perpendicular. The plumb line becomes the true test. Second, The plumb line for me is Jesus Christ. I think about John 14:9, where Jesus says, I am the way and the truth and the life. And as I think about truth, I think about Jesus Christ, that everything he says to us has an eternal truth for us. Not just a contemporary truth, it does have that, but it also has an eternal truth because he looks at everything from an eternal perspective. Each person desiring to follow Jesus as the Christ will use Jesus' life, ministry, teaching, and methodologies in his or her measuring device. If I want guidance for my life as to how to forgive others, I will use both Jesus' teachings and his practice of forgiveness as my guide. If I want a guide as to how to love operates with others, treats others, respects others, cares for others, I will go to Jesus and his teachings as well as his practice. Those two guidelines, I believe, will be found to provide exactly the same plumb line. The third dimension is very, very important. When I come to a question about whether I should follow what seems to be an Old Testament teaching and practice, and one about which I have a question, which seemingly may disagree with Jesus' teaching and practice, I will go to Jesus as my plumb line for God. I'm reminded of a statement in John 14:9, anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. The idea and thought comes directly from my understanding of and belief in those two statements. Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father, and I am the way, the truth, and the life. The second is Jesus' corollary statement in John 14:24. He who does not love me does not keep my word, and the word which you hear is not mine, but the Father's who sent me. What a tremendous declaration. The major impact for me is that anytime I am teaching, I have to constantly keep my instruction, my teaching, my word in line with Jesus as the plumb bob, the plumb line. Also, if someone suggests a way of understanding which disagrees with Jesus' teachings, practices, ministry, and methodologies, then I invite that person, or the class if I'm teaching a class, to help me to check whether our understanding of a particular answer or conclusion aligns with Jesus as the plumb bob, the plumb line for God. Let me be clear what I am proposing to you. When you talk about God and when you describe God, consider using the picture of God that Jesus presents to us. If you have a question about what God does, how God acts, how God forgives, how God loves, use the plumb line of Jesus as the Christ to align or line up your belief and faith. Let Jesus be the plumb line that God has sent very personally to us, to me, and certainly also to you.